In the spring of 2021, Jinkx Monsoon and Nick Sahoyah recorded a Futurama recap podcast. For reasons unknown, it was never released. These are the raw tapes.
I'm 40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. You know I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. I'm only 40%. Go. 40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and this is another episode of I'm 40% Podcast with my co-host, Nick Sahoyah.
I know, Mom.
What?
Mom, I know they're not going to see it, but you just made a weird face when you did it. And I'm going to be editing it, and I'm going to
Could you
know
hear
you made
the
a
weird face in the voice?
There was a twinge. There was a slight... Yeah, so let's do a clean one.
Oh, my God. Hello. Hi, everyone.
Oh, no, Mom, just breathe.
Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. What happened to my voice? Hello, everyone. I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and this is I'm 40% Podcast, the queerest Futurama review podcast that probably exists. I'm here with my co-host, Nick Sahoyah. Say hello, Nick.
Yeah, it was like a B-. I think we're getting there.
And today we have a very special guest. This person, I forget. So I first found out about this person because I had an Instagram crush on them. And then it turns out they're in all kinds of things that I've seen. What?
I just don't think... Whatever. I'm not gonna police you. Just do your thing.
They're very attractive and very funny. So anyway, this is Jared Goldstein, everybody. Is it Goldstein or Goldstein?
It's Goldstein. You got it perfectly.
Perfect. Now, Jared,
I'm sorry. No, just
Nick,
if you need me, just like blink a lot.
Nick, what I need you not to do is never, ever interrupt someone who is calling me hot. How
that
dare
was my
you.
biggest mistake. I'm very sorry, Jared.
Jared, you have had a colorful career, including roles as Rex
And the color
on
is
Modern
Asian.
Family. I remember the day I was just watching Modern Family and randomly you were on my TV, and I think I Instagram messaged you immediately, like Rex.
Yeah. That was a fun little ride.
And quite
To say
recently.
2 lines on Modern Family.
But they're a nice cast, right?
Yeah, I really only worked with Jesse Tyler Ferguson and Aisha Tyler, and they were perfectly charming at 5 a.m.
Oh God, that's the thing about TV. Why does it have to happen so early?
Because they are like such a machine, like a well-oiled machine of network television, and they start so early and they go late and they bang out like 3,000 episodes a day. And
What time of day was your scene?
my scene, we probably were shooting it by 8 a.m.
No,
Like,
but like
camera
what time
rolling.
of the day was your scene in the show?
Within the Modern Family cinematic
Yeah,
universe?
like how much acting did you have to do as far as time of day?
Oh, God. It was like morning. We were in an office.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
It was morning, office times.
We were in the actual NPR offices. That's where they shot the office stuff.
Did you see Ira in the lunchroom? He likes
Pausing,
Fox, doesn't he?
practicing his pauses. Jesse Tyler Ferguson's a buddy old pal of mine, came to a lot of cabaret shows in New York with his husband Justin, and also they
Who is also on Modern Family, right? he's the big guy.
No, that's not his
I'm
husband
sorry,
in real life.
I forget what's real. I'm sorry.
And and they also frequent Provincetown. Have you ever been to Provincetown, Jared? Have you ever been to a gay resort New England town?
I have not. I have never, ever, never.
You're really missing out because, the gays really come alive when they've got some seafood in them. And then you also, quite recently, you were working on Nikki Fresh with Nicole Richie, which was on Quibi, that is in a state of flux right now. It's in streaming limbo. So I don't think you can subscribe to
YouTube.
Yeah, you can't subscribe to Quibi at this moment, but you can watch many clips from the show, which looks hilarious on YouTube. So tell us what that experience was like.
It was great. It was like truly an experience from heaven. I had never had a job that was so suited to like a random selection of skills and interests. Like writing for myself, dancing in a music video in heels, and just palling around with TV's Nicole Richie.
Were you on a farm with her for a second? Was there a little horse?
We were, yeah.
Yeah, I remember
So,
yeah.
My question is it just the simple
the little
life
horse's name?
again, but you're Paris Hilton?
Yes, exactly.
Now, when I saw clips of this Quibi show, it was in my imagination. It was that Nicole Richie saw examples of your work and was like, do you use he, him pronouns, Jared?
I do.
I thought Nicole was like, I want him in my Quibi show. I want him to play my gay best friend. Is it like that at all, or was it an intense auditioning process?
No, it actually was like that. Except
I did it.
You did do it, but I do have to clarify that I was the second choice. But
who was the first choice? Do you know?
I do know who the first choice was. I feel like I shouldn't say. I feel like some people
just say
could
Matt
probably
Rogers.
guess.
We all know it was Matt Rogers.
Yes, it was Matt Rogers. But if you knew who the first choice was, you would agree. Just a lovely talent of a person.
We would agree that it should have been you.
No. They were just too busy. They were too busy. So they came to me, and it was the first time anyone had ever...
I thought it was maybe like a Coco Montrese situation. I thought maybe
Your first alternate.
Alyssa had done something.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a lovely fourth alternate. It was the first time that anything like that had happened. I'm used to auditioning and not getting things. So I went in for a meeting, and I knew that it would be with Nicole, which was exciting. And then I get in there and I sit down, and good Charlotte is in the office as well. And I'm like, oh my God, this is wild. I have to tell my sister. And we're talking with some producers and the director, and I was like, okay, it's probably going to be super awkward, and it's going to be a bunch of suits looking at me, looking at Nicole, looking at me, and we're just going to figure it out, and maybe they'll give me some sides to do at a later date. And then 20 minutes into a very chill, normal conversation, they were like, so we're going to start in a couple weeks, and we're going to get you fitting. And I was like, And I tried to just play cool and not ask any questions. So when I left, literally, truly not knowing, I called my sister and I was like, I think I'm on a TV show with Nicole Richie, but I don't know.
After a good date, you're like, I think he's into me.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Jared, how familiar are you with the show Futurama?
I have watched 3 whole episodes.
Really? Just now?
Perhaps.
So you never watched it before this podcast invitation? No. What were your initial reactions to it?
I liked it. I was laughing out loud. So that's always a good thing.
Good. Yeah.
I think.
What were you going to say?
Well, just when you're able to actually laugh out loud at something.
Yeah. It was. I watched the pilot, the 2nd episode, and the 6th episode, and I laughed the whole way.
Were you a big fan of The Simpsons before it became what it is today?
You know, I'll say I also have never watched The Simpsons up until
Wow.
like 2 weeks ago. I watched one episode that an internet friend of mine wrote. I watched that episode. It was from this past season, and I laughed the whole way. So, hot take: The Simpsons, randomly funny.
Random. When someone tells me they've never watched The Simpsons, and this kind of goes into Futurama, but The Simpsons is more indicative, I instantly assume that they had a very religious upbringing because all of my religious friends were not allowed to watch The Simpsons growing up. Whereas all of my trash atheist asshole friends have seen every episode. So is this indicative of your upbringing?
No, I wasn't raised very religious. I am Jewish. I was bar mitzvahed. The theme was the beach. We gave out beach towels and Krispy Kreme donuts. Super fun. But
beach donuts.
I guess it just felt very straight to me. Like, I think before I even knew that I was gay, and like, it just felt, The Simpsons felt very straight. Like, as a kid, I was like, I loved Nintendo and I was afraid of PlayStation. I felt like PlayStation was like too hard. And I kind of feel that now about like TikTok. Like, I'm kind of like afraid of TikTok. I'm kind of like afraid of Spotify. I'm like, I'm gonna be over here with the babies, and I'm gonna use Apple Music because I liked Nintendo, not PlayStation. I don't think that there's any like reason or like rationality behind it, but that is how I felt my whole life.
There's all kinds of things that I've avoided because they felt too straight to me. So I completely relate to that.
Yeah. I like things that feel gay, and I like things that feel like they're for babies.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Do you play Animal Crossing, Jared?
I don't, but that's a great guess.
I like Animal Crossing.
You didn't have much exposure to Futurama before this, which we're finding is common with a lot of our guests. So if anything, this podcast's new mission statement is to make more people familiar with what I think is one of the better written shows that has ever been on TV.
Everyone needs a good binge, and it's on Hulu, so you can watch it if you're already watching Hulu stuff, such as the Jinkx and Nick holiday special. Yeah, it's January, or by the time this comes out, like March, but you can still watch it.
And Happiest Season on Amazon.
I know, I'm just all over Hulu these days. It's a humbling experience when you're like, oh, this thing I've thought about my whole life finally happened, and I still get out of bed at 11:30 a.m. feeling like I was hit by a truck, and I can barely make my way downstairs to drink some cold brew. Life goes on, people. Life goes on.
So we have a cold open.
Oh yes,
Fry is trying to sleep, and he hears squeaky springs, and it sounds like people are having sex. And he's like, hey, they've been at it for hours. Keep it down in there. And we see in the other apartment, but it's actually some robots playing cards. Jared,
and they're built on springs.
They're made out of springs.
This scene made me a bit horny. I'm gonna say Fry was very hot. In this episode, he has stubble, and he wears like a flannel, and he looks extremely hot. He looks like like a hipster.
Fry doesn't normally have stubble, but he has it like twice in this episode.
Yeah, and it looks really good.
It indicates that it's the middle of the night, because he hasn't freshly shaved. But I'm just glad because pretty much every episode I talk about how sexual I find Fry.
I think you are the first person to agree with her.
Yeah.
Jared.
Yeah, I'll say it was specific to the stubble and the flannel, but it worked, and I was there. I was ready to go.
So you like a schlubby guy, but you just want him to be like extra schlubby.
Yeah.
Okay. That tracks.
If you end up going back and watching the show, you're in for a pleasant surprise. You see lots of Fry's butt throughout the seasons. I
Jinkx
don't know.
has like a Mr. Skin for all of the times you see cartoon characters' butts in shows. So go to mrsskin.com.
Butts just really excite me, even if they're animated. But, I really love it when I'm like watching a show and there's like a sex scene and like you're used to seeing the woman's tits in a sex scene. But whenever you get to see the man's butt too, I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you for giving me something too,
Did you say tits?
Did I just say tits? Yes, I said tits. Should I said breasts, heaving bosom?
Yeah. Yeah, show some respect to this hypothetical lady.
So this episode of Futurama begins with us learning that dreams are advertisements are broadcasts into the dream. I'm going to retake all of this. In this episode, we learn that in the future, advertisements are broadcast into the dreams of everyday citizens.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. How would you feel about advertisements being in your dreams? Would you feel like this is a violation, or is it just the next logical step?
I feel like I have never cared about ads. Like I've never watched a car commercial and then like bought that car. I've never I don't think that I've ever been successfully like advertised. And when I see targeted ads on my phone, on Instagram, to me it's so clear that it's just whatever I just Googled. Like the other day I started to think about like, wouldn't it be so nice if I had like a Smeg retro fridge that was like bright red or something. So I looked it up, I Googled it, and then like immediately after, for the rest of the day, every sponsored ad is a Smeg fridge. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's because I Googled it. And a lot of times those sponsored ads will come up after I've already bought it. So I'm like, why are you even advertising to me? I already bought the thing, and not because you told me to. Get the fuck out of here.
You should have the evidence too if you're already data mining.
So wait, they're selling whole refrigerators on Instagram?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like pants.
I will cop to, I've bought a handful of things from targeted Instagram ads. It's something I'm not proud of, but also something I'm not gonna like withhold. I'm not gonna keep it secret that I
honestly,
have
you're being
subject.
too secretive about it. What did you order? We all order shit from Instagram, Mom.
I've ordered so many like weird cooking gadgets. I've ordered a lot of clothing because they do.
Oh, this is very her, Jared. So there was this one time where she got a juicer, and I don't drink any juice, zero juice. But all of a sudden, I'm supposed to drink one full cup of juice every time I go over to her apartment, and then of course, like clockwork, 3 months later, never see the juicer again.
I don't. Okay, we had a good run with the juicer.
You had a good run forcing your guests to drink a weird concoction.
It was healthy. Apples.
I didn't come over to your apartment for
carrots,
health.
Ginger.
And then you immediately turned on a hookah and inhaled it for 5 hours straight.
Shut up!
Don't make me
Stop
drink juice.
spilling my tea.
Spilling her juice.
I've had some definite disappointments from Instagram ads. But I would say, it's about 60-40. Like more than half the time I'm happy with what I buy on Instagram ads. But I did have to stop. I had to tell myself no more. Just because I didn't want to encourage it to keep happening.
There's a funny line where Fry is asking about the dream ads, and the professor's like, oh, the dream goes into your, excuse me, the ad goes into your brain just like this liquid goes into this egg. And he like injects an egg and it explodes everywhere. But instead of liquid, it's gamma radiation.
And then, Fry's very upset to find out that there's ads in their dreams. And they ask him, well, weren't there dreams? God damn it. Leela asks, weren't there ads in the 20th century? And Fry goes, well, sure, on TV and radio and in magazines and movies and at ball games, on buses, on T-shirts and milk cartons and bananas and written in the sky, but not in our dreams. while that's a funny joke, for me, it all stands out at bananas. Are there ads on bananas that I don't know?
Like on Dole bananas, it will be like, go see Cars 3, on the sticker.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah.
I guess I don't eat enough bananas.
Well, that's actually what this podcast is about. We're all working backwards from getting you some potassium.
My bone density is in crisis.
To get you to slowly eat a banana on a Zoom.
That's a
Ooh, there's
different.
some Patreon content.
Yeah, that's a Patreon video.
Book your cameos today at jinxmonsoon.com/deepthroat.
Okay.
I loved your Patreon video, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're having fun at Monsoon Manor creating videos for the Patreon account. It's a nice little desperate attempt at creating my own work in a digital era. Anyway,
Amy says, we all have ads in our dreams, but you don't see us going to the mall to buy brand name items at low prices. And they all kind of look at each other and twitch, and they all run to the mall.
yeah.
Do you like the mall, Jared? Is that a fun experience for you?
Love the mall. I am
Give me your
from
top
Long
3
Island.
stores.
I'll tell you, my drag name is Beverly Center.
Oh, I heard your other drag name.
Oh, Rinzi Rohan.
Yeah. I've heard that one before. I didn't know about Beverly Center.
I love a mall. I'm from Long Island.
Me too. I really, the mall was where me and all my Mormon friends hung out in middle school.
Mom, you can't just tell these weird stories like they're normal.
All of my friends in middle school were Mormon, but I didn't know what Mormonism was at the time. And when I went home and told my mom, well, I had dinner over at Lynn's house, but they all crossed their arms to say grace before eating dinner. And my mom freaked out and said, that's a cult, and I needed to stay away from
Oh my God. One time I went over to my friends for dinner and I went home and I was like, Mom, I had the best meal ever. She's like, what did they make? And I was like, pasta, but instead of sauce, they used butter and ketchup. And she was like, that is a cult and you need to never go back to that home.
Yes,
Lo and
Mom.
behold, all religion's a cult. So thanks, Mom. Yeah, all my friends in middle school were Mormons who were very liberal Mormons because it was Portland, Oregon, and I was so clearly queer at such a young age. But yeah, we live action role played in the park. We frequented the mall. We had a game
LARPed with Mormons?
I LARPed with Mormons in middle school. That's how I broke my tooth.
Why is this just coming up? What? That's the origin story of your tooth?
Yeah, I was
I've
live
known
action
you for
role playing.
15 years.
It was live action role playing,
this?
and my character had a drinking problem, and
Oh my God.
I had a glass bottle up to my mouth, and someone bumped into it, and it cracked my tooth. And here's the other thing about my Mormon friends is they were all rich, and I was poor. So when I broke my tooth, they were all like, "Oh, just go get it fixed. That's an easy fix." And of course, there was no money to fix my tooth. But I feel like we may have gotten off topic. I loved the mall. That's all I wanted to say. I still love a mall crawl. We used to play this game called the Gap game, where you had to make it from the front of the Gap all the way to the back of the Gap, touch the back wall, and then make it back out of the Gap without having one of the Gap employees stop you and ask if they could help you.
You sound like a bunch of nightmare children. If I was working retail and you were walking around my store, I would have kicked you out.
We also all had nicknames based on characters from the King Arthur legends, and I was Queen Guinevere.
Wow.
Yeah.
My family played a game where we would take merchandise from the Gap and walk out of the store and try to see if anyone stopped us.
They can't.
Well, that segues nicely. That happens right next in the episode.
It does.
Wow.
Did you identify with Bender stuffing all the cans of oil in his sweater?
I certainly did. Yeah.
I only ever
I've
stole
shoplifted.
underwear a couple times from Mom. You remember downtown Seattle, like across the street from the convention center? What was that store?
H&M?
No. It was
ASOS?
nicer than that.
Nike Town? You stole
Was
a
there like a
from Nike Town?
Was there like... No, I think it was before Nike Town was a thing. It was that long ago.
Honey, you never take me to Nike Town anymore.
I remember.
Well,
Anyway.
regardless. Mom, what did you steal? We all confessed.
I have actually never shoplifted. As a child, my mom asked me to hold some Parmesan because we were making a quick stop for just, ingredients for spaghetti. So we weren't getting a basket. That's a big thing in my family. Like, if you get a basket or a cart, you're going to be in the grocery store longer than you mean to. So we would oftentimes go into the grocery store and just hold everything, but it wouldn't make us buy less. It just meant we would awkwardly be walking through the grocery store. So she asked me to hold the Parmesan and I stuck it in my pocket. And then we got into the car and I realized I still had this like wedge of Parmesan in my pocket. And I started crying because I had shoplifted. And my mom said, well, we're going to have to go take it back. Oh, it's already 6:30. Never mind. Just don't do it again. And that was the one time I ever shoplifted.
That's very
Honestly,
sweet.
that's fine. That's good mothering, I think. Because you know what? That store's going to be fine. They'll sell more cheese.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I shoplifted I guess a jade egg from a science store. And I thought about it for weeks. Thought that I was going to go down hard. The police were going to knock on the door any day.
Did you steal it just because it was pretty?
Yeah. Yeah,
I get
and
that.
It was pretty, and I just wanted to steal. I just wanted.
Was it for sale, or did you steal like an exhibit?
No, it was for sale.
Okay.
It was like in a
So this wasn't a
bin
heist.
filled with little jade eggs, and I thought this one is for me.
I never shoplifted, but I would just steal things from like neighbors' yards as a kid.
Wait,
because
that's
like
way
if it's
crazier.
if it's in a yard, it's like how could they own a rock? But I stole this decorative rock from my neighbor's yard, and it went as far as like I was bragging about the rock that I found to the neighbor, and she was like, "Yeah, that's my rock. I've been wondering where it went." And I just looked her in the face and was just like, "Oh, yeah, that does sound like the rock I found." And then I never gave it back to her, and I still think about that. But anyway.
That's a Portlandia sketch, Mom. Where were you pitching? You should have pitched that 5 years ago to Portlandia.
I know. I know. If Portlandia had just written sketches based on my life, that would have been a whole extra season. My favorite aspect about...
Leela...
I was just about to lead us back into the episode. My favorite aspect of this episode is it's the introduction. Jesus Christ, I haven't even smoked weed today. It's the introduction of my all-time favorite Futurama character, Mom, who is a mogul, a business mogul, and her public persona is that of a kindly, old, somewhat feeble, gentle, caring mother figure, and her name is Mom, and that's all she's ever named. Oh, we hear later in the show that I think her name's Karen, but
Really?
otherwise, yeah, it's like a one-off. But otherwise, her name is Mom, and she is just Mom, and she's what does Amy say? The world's most lovable mogul, or the world's most lovable tycoon.
It's so funny. Go watch it.
What were your first impressions of Mom?
Mom Corp. My first impressions of Mom. I guess I didn't like Mom, but not like in a specific way. I just thought, villain.
Wait, so
No,
did
no,
you know?
no. I'm good. I'm
Did
Jewish.
you know she
We're
was
good.
evil before the reveal? Could you tell?
I guess maybe. Yeah, I guess maybe.
Yeah, because she was laying it on pretty thick.
Well,
Yeah.
the Dracula hair, I think, is your first indicator that this person might be evil.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
it's very
definitely.
Bram Stoker. I always say it backwards.
Bram Stoker. Bram
See, I always
Stoker.
say Bam Stroker, which sounds like a porn parody.
That is that's just the newest men.com exclusive model. Bam Stroker.
Do you know who is the voice of Mom? That was the first thing I thought. I thought, oh, this is a famous voice.
Yes,
I do know this voice.
That is my favorite voice actor, because we all have a favorite voice actor. But that's Tress MacNeille, who she voices a buttload of stock characters on The Simpsons. And then she also voices like every female character that's not one of the main voice actors on Futurama, and then
I was
also
watching
Disenchantment.
some old Animaniacs. She's in the old one.
She's Dot on the Animaniacs.
Oh, yes, yeah, that's it.
Both the old and the new ones, and she's on Disenchantment. I think it's the first time she ever voiced like a main character on a show, but she also does all the stock characters. My guess is that her and Matt Groening must be like just really tight because she's in everything that he does.
They're fucking
raw dogging.
Yeah.
I just assume all straight people
who know each other.
Yeah, they're fucking, right?
They must have had sex. Do you think straight people? I don't know. I feel like maybe it's a sign of youth in the queer community, because when I was in my 20s, I had no queer friends that I hadn't slept with at some point early on in our friendship, and then that's just like. Oh, Nick and I even used to call it getting the sex out of the way so that you could be friends with a person. I don't know if that's universal for queer people or just sluts from Portland.
Yeah, it might have just been a Northwest thing. I don't know.
But I had a circle of like 8 queer friends, and we one time, drew a map of who had sex with who, and like basically there were so many crossroads, and we were a tight knit, little group, but we all had at one point slept with almost everyone else in the group, and that was just how you made friends back in the day.
Wow.
When you're too young for gay bars, so you're just meeting other queer people from dating apps, and then some of them you're like, oh, we should actually be friends once we're done having sex.
Sometimes, especially if the sex is bad, you're like, oh, we were just supposed to watch cartoons or something.
It was really great up until we took our pants off. So Mom is my favorite character. She has 3 sons, Igner, Walt, and Larry, who she is very stern with. I think probably Nick and I have always had this bit in our work together. He plays my son in everything in the Jinkx universe. And we've always had this bit of me slapping him across his face when he says something too stupid. And I don't think we ever consciously realized we were just stealing it from Futurama. But now that we're rewatching it, I realize that's where we got it.
Yeah. I wonder where else we stole all the other stuff from. We should find out as we go through this podcast.
Mommy Dearest, Lucille Ball, Igner, Walt, and
Nikki
Larry.
Fresh on Quibi.
All the gay touchstones. Isn't there a thing with and spoilers obviously for the future of Futurama, but isn't there a thing where the youngest son is something?
Yes. That's not revealed until one of the movies. It's in Bender's Game. Igner is revealed. See,
that's why I don't remember, because that's my least favorite of the movies.
Yeah. Igner is the professor's son. Jared. Igner is the professor's son, and that's the only son we know the father of as far as mom's backstory.
Isn't it weird they never did a Mamma Mia episode, but it's like backwards? It's like 3 sons instead of 3 dads.
That's funny. So Fry goes to the bank to see if he has any money in his old account. Now, Fry had 10 cents in his account in the 20th century, and over 1,000 years, the interest has accrued, and now he's like a multi-billionaire. And
that's exactly how people make money in Animal Crossing. So something to think about.
Now, when I saw this episode, way back when in my youth, back when I was poor and had no prospects, it really did build up the idea in my mind that I could, like, if I didn't look at my bank account for long enough, then I could go and, like, some kind of secret or some kind of lesser known, like, bank loophole would have happened and I would have just suddenly inherited millions of dollars. But that's yet to happen for me. I haven't
It's
checked
actually the opposite that happens, right? Your money is less valuable over time.
I'm hoping that one day when I check my SAG retirement fund, it'll be like this. 'Cause I did one episode of Blue Bloods in 2013, and now I'm a millionaire.
Under the Hulu clause, you are owed $3 billion.
So
Fry's rich.
comes into a bunch of money. Yes, Fry's now
Fry's rich. There's a montage of him being rich. They have a top hat party where they all wear top hats. And Leela says, do we really need to wear these top hats? Bender says yes.
I don't think you understand how rich Fry is. Maybe I should put on a monocle.
They go to a spa that's called La Spa, and they also buy famous pieces of art to put in a catapult and shoot with lasers. Which of these activities would be most fun for you two?
Lasers at the art.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no interest in
I just want a
spas.
massage. I'm going to the spa.
No, I don't like being rubbed.
I
If
don't like
it's the
putting my
future and
face
there's
in the
no
hole.
coronavirus, I will go to the spa.
Oh my God, I literally watched the scene like in the pilot where they go to the pizza, actually it was this episode where they go to the pizza place and my first thought was like, they're not wearing masks.
We are now at the point, where I'm watching like old TV and it shocks me to see people not wearing masks.
In a cartoon from 1999, I'm like, they're not wearing masks.
I also have, full circle, but I have dreams now where people aren't wearing masks, and in the dream I'm freaking out that people aren't wearing masks.
That's my
Start
dream every
distributing
night.
them until I wake up.
and then there's a Calvin Klein ad in the dream.
Yeah. Get your Calvin Klein brand mask. $40.
Fry ends up at an auction because he wants to, he's having a pizza party with his friends, and he says, I need one pizza with everything on it but anchovies, and then one pizza with my favorite ingredient, anchovies. Turns out anchovies don't exist anymore. They've gone extinct because Zoidberg's alien race has depleted the world of its anchovy
I want to
stores.
ask about this because I missed the line. How long ago did Zoidberg's people come to Earth? Was Zoidberg alive to experience anchovies for the first time? Because he seems very invested in eating them.
He sounds like he was there when, like, he was among the first to come. I can't remember when they came.
They met the lobsters very recently, then, like within
fairly
Zoidberg's
recently,
lifetime.
within Zoidberg's lifetime. And he says, "No, we didn't eat the." We didn't eat the anchovies. I'm going to sidebar for a second. How do you feel, Jared, as a Jewish person who was actually raised Jewish, not like a fake Jewish person like me who just has the blood but none of the heritage? I got the blood. How do you feel about Dr. Zoidberg, who's clearly... it's like what happens in sci-fi shows all the time. There's alien races that are clearly commentaries on real life groups of people, and it typically I see this a lot throughout sci-fi. It typically is that there is an alien race that is a direct parallel of real world Jewish people stereotypes. And yet they get away with stereotyping this group of people because it's an alien. So it's not like the Ferengis are like anti-Semitic, but those clearly are based on anyway.
But the goblins in Harry Potter, on the other hand, may be a little anti-Semitic.
No, the Ferengis are definitely anti-Semitic. I'm saying but it's almost like we're not allowed to say that because they're a made-up race of aliens that don't actually exist. How do you feel about seeing Jewish people represented by alien races? And is there any intersectionality with how you feel about the character Amy as an Asian character?
Okay, that's what I'll say. Because the thing is, I didn't even notice. And now it's so clear, like, duh, Dr. Blankberg. I did not even, I didn't clock it. But I did clock Amy. I definitely felt very seen by Amy in what appears to be like a pink, juicy jumpsuit.
Oh, yeah, a little sweatsuit.
yeah. And also,
you should get that. That would be a good look for you.
I think, right?
I think we just figured out your Halloween costume for 2021 is you can
there
just be Amy.
You've got 9 months to get it together.
The first time I watched it, I was a little bit absent-minded, and I missed hearing her last name, Wong. So I'm watching this character on the screen, and I'm going, she better be Asian. What's going on? Is this an Asian girl? And then I went back to watch, and I was like, okay, good. Okay, she is Asian.
Jared, you ever eaten an anchovy?
You know, I haven't, and I would love to. I see gorgeous photos of anchovies like on a toast, and it looks like the height of luxury. It looks like wow. I would love to. I'm not afraid to try. I would love to try. The idea.
Would you eat it with this little head on?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I would prefer if the head came off. But
fair.
I just love the idea that it like melts in a pan or like melts into a Caesar dressing. It's very, sounds great.
I guarantee you Jinkx loves anchovies.
I
remember
have only
in fucking Amsterdam when you ordered
those were sardines.
Fish.
Those were sardines, different fish.
Sardines and anchovies.
I don't know.
I think sardines are bigger than anchovies.
I do like anchovies. Like sometimes you can get a Caesar salad with fresh anchovies. No, I guess not fresh, but you know, like anchovies actually in the salad and not just pureed in the dressing. So that's when you know you're bougie, is when you're in Provincetown, the gay New England resort town, eating a Caesar salad with white anchovies in the mix.
I aspire to that.
So at the auction, Fry is trying to buy the last can of anchovies in existence.
Which just happened to be, he didn't go to the auction to get the anchovies. It happens to be the last can in existence, and they happen to be for sale at this auction he stumbled into.
And the highest bidders at first are Fry and a Decapodian, who is of, you know, the same origins of Dr. Zoidberg. And as we know, the Decapodians are addicted to anchovies.
Yeah, she sounds hungry when she bids. She's like salivating already, which was funny.
And then Mom comes in, and she starts a bidding war with Fry for the anchovies.
Yeah, and it culminates in Fry saying $1 jillion, and everybody gasps. And then the auctioneer says, "Sir, that's not a real number." And then everyone gasps again.
Fry ends up with the anchovies.
Yeah, he gets them.
But before he and his friends can even enjoy the anchovies, Fry starts acting like a jerk because now he's living in the past. He's got all his relics from the 20th century. And,
his apartment was cute. His like retro apartment he moved into.
Yeah, and he's got
nice.
I love that he's listening to like, what is it, the Beastie Boys and
Sir Mix-a-Lot?
I think it's Sir Mix-a-Lot, yeah.
And Leela's like, Fry, you can't just sit around listening to classical music all day.
Another good one is Fry says, "I've found out what makes me happy, and it's not friends, it's things." And Bender goes, "I'm a thing."
Just go. So Fry becomes secluded in his little time capsule of the 20th century. And then we cut to Mom, who reveals her evil plan. This is our first time getting to see Mom take off the fat suit. And she's
is it
actually
a fat suit, or is it just a dress? It's like hollow under there.
Yeah, I didn't think that she was fat in that dress. I'm woke as hell. I love women.
Well, I only called it the fat suit because her son refers to it as her fat suit.
No, they literally do. They do call it that. I
That's
remember
female
thinking
beauty
like,
standards for you. That this old woman who has a very sensible figure is called fat.
Yeah.
It just looked like a Victorian dress, like in the way that it had that huge frame, you know?
Yeah. I think it's also just, in comparison to her rail thin body, she presents as a Eureka, but she's an Alaska underneath. But I don't know. We'll cut that.
I'm gonna play it twice. I'm gonna play it again right now.
I did a number where I played mom for Halloween on tour a couple years ago, and I came out in the big mom, the voluptuous mom suit, and then it was a tearaway, and I tore it away and was then just wearing the purple cat suit. But I always felt really disappointed that when I tore off the fat suit, I was not, the reveal is supposed to be that she's stick thin under the under the fat suit. And then I ripped off the fat suit and there was still, some curves there. So the joke was kind of lost, but, so she reveals that she has an evil plan for the anchovies, and she suspects that Fry has the same evil plan. So her and her sons decide that they must rob Fry of his anchovies. And since he won't sell them, they decide that they're going to bankrupt him so that he has no option but to sell his anchovies. And here we go into... No, we've known that Fry's dumb leading up to this. But I think this episode is just a showcase of how incredibly stupid Fry is.
I think this scene where they trick him is like maybe one of my favorite Futurama scenes, just beginning to end, because he is so absurdly dumb in service of the bit. And everyone's doing they're constantly incriminating themselves, and he's just totally going along with it. Like when the guy comes in and he says he's Mr. Panucci, and he says, "Mr. Panucci, did you grow a mustache since yesterday?" And he says, "No," and he takes off his fake mustache, but underneath the fake mustache, he's not dressed like Mr. Panucci. Like, that was his only disguise. So there's just no follow-up questions.
Yes.
And then when he just says, "Same as my PIN code."
Yes, he keeps my secret PIN code, and he keeps blurting it out.
That's funny. My favorite thing is they do this whole thing. So Fry reveals early in the episode that his ATM PIN code is the same as a cheese pizza and a small soda at Panucci's Pizza. So then they go through this whole thing where they try to make him think he's back in his own time and he's back at work, just to get him to say the price of a cheese pizza and a soda. And then once he's finally revealed it, that what they've all been working towards, then he goes, "Same as my PIN code." Like almost as if they could have just gone up to Fry and asked him what his PIN code was, and he wouldn't think it's suspicious at all because he's that
And then
dumb.
when he's getting his stuff repoed later, he says just unwarranted, unprompted to the moving bot, "Because they wanted to get my secret PIN number, 1077. He just keeps telling it to everyone.
I love the whole thing with Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fun bit. Do they? I imagine they do that all the time.
Well,
I think Pamela specifically comes back once or twice, right?
I don't know if she comes back after this episode, but they do this bit a lot because, it's set in the future, but it's having to deal with our time. So since in the future everyone is still alive as a head, anyone from our time can appear in the future at any given moment.
It's actually kind of prescient because like all of the celebrities in the future are just the celebrities from now. Like there's no present day celebrities, and that's kind of like how now we can't just have anything new. Like everything's like they're rebooting like Pretty Little Liars. Like,
can you believe that?
Didn't that just happen?
Like B tier, like CW stuff from like 7 years ago is getting a reboot. It's very strange.
It's so the way like I knew things were getting bad when there was a Michael Jackson IMAX movie. Like his body wasn't even cold. And you could go see like a 3D IMAX explosion. And I'm like, this is so tacky, crazy, dystopian, and now we're rebooting Pretty Little Liars.
I honestly think I think the reboots, the age of reboots, is really just to get young viewers back on to things that they know worked before. Because there's so many shows that I know my younger friends would enjoy, but they won't watch it because the video quality or the like CGI or whatever is so terrible that their eyes can't process or understand it. They're like, what are these moving block figures? You know? But rebooting it makes it digestible for a younger audience.
At the end of the scheme, when they get him to say the PIN number, Pamela Anderson starts like cackling along with the rest of them, which I think is really funny because you see her backstage and she makes it clear that she's like not invested in the scheme. She's like
only doing this so her head will be taken seriously as an actor.
Yeah.
Oh, and she's like, he doesn't know that I won an Oscar? And in that moment, I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I want to live in a universe where Pamela Anderson gets that special movie in 5 years and wins an Oscar.
Please.
I love that she says, just like me in my film Baywatch the movie. And Fry, of course, has never heard of Baywatch the movie because it hasn't happened yet. But now, in real life, there has been a Baywatch the movie. And I think they made that joke because they thought like that would be the most ridiculous thing ever, was a Baywatch movie. But now not only has it happened, but it's like no one even seemed to put up a fight. we collectively just sighed and said okay when they released a Baywatch movie. But in Futurama she says, Baywatch the movie, the first movie shot entirely in slow motion. Which could you sit through a 2-hour movie entirely in slow motion?
If it was yes, I could, because I'll say the porn that my mom found on my computer was of a Baywatch actor whose name I always forget, but he's incredibly hot. And if I could watch him run for 2 hours.
Was the porn in slow motion?
The porn was a extremely sensual black and white photo series that I had downloaded into like a little file, probably called "Gay Porn Mom."
Gay Porn Mom.
And oh my God, honestly, it was probably a similar experience to your like rock in the neighbor's yard, because my mom was like, so I found your porn, and I literally just went no, and she said she started to say more words, and I just went no, and I ran out of the room, and we just pretended it never happened for like 2 more years.
My porn history at home, I don't know. My mom was just very upfront all the time. And it was kind of similar, where I didn't really deny it, though. She would just state things like, I found your porn stash on the computer, or my favorite, my mom just randomly would bring up finding my cum socks, like as a teenager. But she would bring it up in front of my friends. Like, I found another one of your crusties.
Oh my God.
Why? Just as like a power move?
I think so. I don't know. My mom was weird back then. But she would just drop this information like just randomly. And it wasn't to have a conversation about it. It was just to let me know that she knew.
Damn.
That I masturbate.
Evil.
So they end up bankrupting. God, Nick, take it.
So they end up bankrupting. Did I do it right, Mom?
Yeah. They end up bankrupting Fry. And that's about it. They win.
Okay, so there's
because
like a funny dream sequence.
The episode has to end.
Once they knock him out again, there's a funny dream sequence where Bender and Leela's heads are like floating around Fry in like a dream space. And then when the heads float away, Bender goes like, wee! And I feel like I do that all the time because of this episode and Bender.
Yeah. I actually did that in the Jinkx and Dale holiday special, but it got cut. because the flashback got cut. But we had a flashback where I was like, I remember it like it was yesterday. And the whole screen starts waving and I go, did you feel that? And no one else has felt it. And I say, I think my acid just dropped. And then it starts waving again. And I go, wee, as we go into the flashback. It all got cut.
Jared, when would you, how often do you say we?
How often do I say we? I dropped acid in college and I think I probably said we. I was looking at the folds in my t-shirt and they were kind of moving. And I think I said we.
There we go.
I only say it when I'm speaking French. So by the end of the episode, Fry he has no money, but he still has his anchovies. Did he store it in his sock or his can of anchovies?
Yeah, because he only had like 4 possessions in his like apartment. It was like the TV and the anchovies and that chair, which was a very like straight guy move to have like a nice apartment and no furniture.
So he finally gets to, Mom comes and makes one last ditch effort to get the can of anchovies and offers him a bunch of money. And he turns it down because he has now realized that his friends are what matters, not his material possessions. And he says, I'm going to share these. I'm going to put these anchovies on a pizza and eat them with my friends. And Mom is flabbergasted to hear that he's just going to eat them because he doesn't know their money-making secret.
I do like the stretching of the bit of like people just think Mom is nice because she breaks character like a couple times when she's like shaking them down for money in their home. But like she literally like leaves and calls them a dumbass, and Fry just says like, what a nice lady.
What a nice lady. Don't worry, Mom will be back multiple times throughout this series. She's an ongoing villain for our heroes in Futurama.
Jared, who is your favorite character of the characters you've met so far?
Oh, definitely the professor. 100%. I was so funny when they meet him and he's showing them around his house, and like the third thing on this very boring list is this huge rocket that they're gonna fly on. After he had, and then he goes for the fourth thing on the list is his string collection, and they're like, oh my god, this is so incredible, and he's like, I know. Let me show you the different lengths of string. I'm like, oh my god, this is so funny.
If you like that, Jared, you should just keep going. I think you're gonna like this show.
Yeah, I mean, I literally laughed at every episode, and
this is viral marketing via Matt Groening. He has paid us to book people on this podcast and make them watch 2 to 3 episodes of Futurama so they get hooked.
I suggest you watch all of Futurama. I will forewarn you, like most shows, it does have some diminishing returns towards the later seasons. But even the later seasons where there's some episodes that are completely optional and complete throwaway episodes, there's no episode without like a handful of really well-written jokes and really well-conceived bits and gags.
That's all you need, you know?
Mom, what season of Blue Bloods were you on?
I think 5. It's called Manhattan Queens.
It was still good, right? It was still before it had gone downhill.
I still haven't watched the entire episode. I'm very guilty. Well, you know, it's a typical crime drama where there's like 3 plot lines going on. So I've watched my plot line, but I haven't watched the one about someone with cancer kidnaps a lawyer.
Wait, what was your like piece of the puzzle?
Oh, I was so excited because I was on Blue Bloods. So I got to be a drag queen on a crime drama where I wasn't the murder victim.
Okay.
But my role was I was the best friend of the murder victim, and I ran a drag cabaret club. And so they have to come to my club to inquire about this murdered drag queen, and I end up piecing it together and discovering myself who the murderer was, and then I give the information to Donnie Wahlberg, and he goes and takes down the murderer, and then he comes back to my club and meets me out of drag and doesn't recognize me, and then I pour him a drink, and we have this. I was like, I pour the drink, and then I'm like, to Tiffany Lamp, and he goes, to Tiffany, and to you, Tallulah. For a dude, you're one hell of a broad. Like, something like that.
Wait, this is iconic.
I know.
Her look is actually pretty good. Did they have a makeup person, or did you do your own face for that?
Okay, so I did what I normally do in TV and film, which is where I put my base on, my foundation. So I did all the foundation, highlight, contouring, because that's the thing that, like, if you're not a drag queen, and typically just like drag queens know their own faces. And so once all the like foundation and highlight and contouring was done, then they came in and did the rest of the makeup. But they did the full wardrobe and wigs and everything. And I loved the way I looked in that episode. But it's definitely like, it's a show for older people. So I get, about 5 messages a week from someone saying, my grandma watched you on Blue Bloods and you loved it.
You
It's
get
a
like
favorite
a 5
amongst
cent check
dads.
from like the syndication.
I get random royalty. I don't ever know where the royalty checks are coming from, because sometimes they're for 7 cents, and then randomly once a year I'll have like a decent royalty check, but I don't know what show it's coming from. It's either Blue Bloods or Steven Universe, but I think about royalties checks, and I think about Kathy Najimy, who is a famous movie actor who also voiced Peggy Hill on King of the Hill. So if she never did another movie or TV show again, she's probably set for life, because she's on every single episode of King of the Hill, which not only is syndicated, but also is like now popular amongst meme culture. So is going to have this whole resurgence because of meme culture using Bobby Hill and everything. You ever just sit around and think
videos. She's now in Meg Stalter videos, so she's.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
She is
That's
right
cute.
on the forefront of culture.
Do you ever just sit around and think about your favorite actresses from the 80s and 90s and what they're doing now? Like, where's Joan Cusack's money coming from?
We're so over time. Let's get back on track and wrap this up.
I think it's been a lovely chat.
It has been lovely. I didn't say it was a bad overtime. I said we were overtime. It was great.
You're the one who has to edit it. I always like to ask, what character do you identify with the most, and what character would you most like to have a romantic and physical relationship with in Futurama?
I most identify with Bender.
I was not expecting that.
Oh, 100%. Okay,
Tell us about it.
Look, I've been on this podcast program for hours, it feels like.
Yeah.
And I have
1,000 years, we're in the future.
I have not brought up once that I was on Broadway as a child.
You and Sarah Jessica Parker.
By the way. But when I saw, when he meets Bender at the bar, and he's going on and on about how he was the greatest Bender, that I was like, oh my God, that's me. Like I'm so like bitter old man at a bar. Like, I was on Broadway once.
Who
and
did
then also
you play
he's just
on
like
Broadway?
chaotic. That's so sweet of you to ask. I was in A Christmas Carol at Madison Square Garden in 2002 and 2003. And I played young Scrooge when they go back in time.
I bet you looked really good in that period costumery.
I'll say that I did, because the costume was extremely expensive, and that was a very cool thing. Like, I played a street urchin at one point in the ensemble, but then also like a little rich boy, and they gave me this like wool coat, and it was like some sort of very special kind of wool that had been like dyed and like treated in certain ways, and it was very exciting to wear that stuff.
But was it
yeah,
kosher?
so I most identify with Bender. And And the second question was who do I want to have a romantic relationship with?
Did you say romantic or physical? Yeah.
Romantic, and I said both, but you can separate them if it's two different people.
Okay, I think I want to have a romantic relationship with Amy.
Ooh, that's nice. You don't know this yet, but she's very rich. So she's going to take you to a nice place.
He knows that. That's in the first couple of episodes.
Yeah, she's in Kappa Kappa Wong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to have a romantic relationship with Amy. I just think that we're soulmates. And I want to have a physical relationship with Fry when he has stubble.
Stubble and a flannel. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jared, thank you so much for being on our 6th episode of this podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, just keep yourself subscribed to the Jinkx Monsoon Patreon page, because you'll get early access to all our episodes of I'm 40% Podcast. And if you're listening to this podcast somewhere else, it means you did not get premiere access to it. And you should consider joining the Jinkx Monsoon Patreon page and hear this podcast well in advance to anyone else, and you can brag about it to your friends that you've already heard the latest episode of I'm 40% Podcast.
Jinkx, can you just write a 4-line poem about Jared before we go? It should rhyme.
A 4-line poem about Jared. Oh my God.
I'm going to tattoo this to my lower back, so don't fuck this up.
Jared Goldstein, baby face. The hair, the looks, the talent, and grace. I see him on the internet. And when I do, it makes me wet. There you go.
Oh my God.
Jared,
that was beautiful.
I've never been shy. Okay, so for people not watching this, which is everyone, Jared is a very attractive individual, but I will admit that I am just immediately attracted to guys with long hair. It's kind of my kryptonite. I actually was with my partner today at a food cart, and I was pointing out a guy that I know is not attractive, but I am attracted to him because he has long floppy hair. And that's just for whatever reason, so many things fall by the wayside when a guy has great hair for me.
I will say in the last couple of years, I have hooked up with straight questioning men, and all of them have gone on to grow out their hair. And I'm certain that they were they didn't want to fuck me. They just wanted long hair, but they didn't want to wait. So they're like,
step.
I can make out with this guy who has long hair until mine grows out.
Are you sure it's not like a werewolf thing and you're creating
I was going to say
long hair?
I was going to say it does sound like a werewolf thing because there was a time in my life when I would sleep with a guy and then 2 weeks to a month later, he would start doing drag. And it would be someone who had showed zero interest in drag beforehand. And then after sex, suddenly they're a drag queen. And I started to wonder, was it me turning them into drag queens, or did they come to sleep with me because that's the first step to becoming a drag queen?
That's your STD, your sexually transmitted drag.
Well, maybe it's like the Inhumans, and the Terrigen Mist will kill a normal person, but it will turn an Inhuman into a person with powers.
No one knows what you're talking about.
That was so
Reach.
nerdy. Oh my God.
It's like X-Men, but worse.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest, Jared Goldstein.
Thanks for having me.
Perhaps we shall have you on future episodes as well when there's some Amy episodes coming up in the future.
Okay,
so
great.
you will have
be our
first
Amy
right of refusal.
Oh my God. I would literally love that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Do you have anything to plug?
The Green New Deal and my Twitter.
Wonderful. That's Hey Jared Hay at Hey Jared Hay, and Jared is spelt Jared.
Thank you.
I'm Jinkx Monsoon. That's Nick Sahoyah. This is I'm 40% Podcast, and we will see you on the next episode.